first comment and question would be about being young, young at heart. Being young at heart. I find that it's it's easier said than done. I've realized that this quality is an essential ingredient for living in the East, and embracing the Eastness life is. And you have talked about this and continue to say it so many times. But it seems to me that being young at heart at times is just understood mentally. I think it's rather difficult to practice. And then, can you tell us your modus operandi for staying young at heart, and perhaps how you have managed to stay this young at heart? I can hear your voice singing merrily about being young at heart in a song. So, can you enlighten us on how to be young at heart? Thank you.
You thought long and hard on that, didn't you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, you're occupied. Well, I don't really think about being young too much, off and on. The idea is, for me, I compare what's taking place in creation with the true reality, isness, and actually more than just being young. But this is how, uh, you know, it is exemplified or demonstrated. Youth is exemplified and demonstrated by the very fact of that focus and that intent. That becomes I would say, the real youth. Uh, and yes, being young at heart is one thing. That's fine. Uh, there was that song by Frank Sinatra. I always like it, to be young at heart. And these things are fun, and they do help us along. And for the most part, they're tied to the emotions and the personal self, which is fine. And we can hold on to these ideas, but eventually we realize that there's more to life than just the ideas we hang on to. But these help us along for to a certain point, you might say. Again, it's like I look at this lifetime, I go over it and what I've been through, and the ideas that I've been through have helped to a certain point. But now life is what it is, always new. That's if you want to equate it to youth, it's always being new every moment, and recognizing that, not just holding on to the idea, but it's the recognition of it that you can see uh, this reality. And each person goes about it in their own way. So it's more than just the knowledge of things, but to surpass that, and it becomes the reality of doing. So it's seeing, being, and doing again, going over and over this and updating yourself every moment. And so, yeah, so the more baggage people carry, really the older they get, old and tired. And to have things in creation as a reference, that becomes a difference. Use them as a reference instead of just carrying them and possessing them, you might say, with anything. So yes, it's a choice each person makes. No one has to do anything they don't want to do. And so it takes practice, like anything, like a little birdie's flying. Pretty soon they get good at it. And we all make choices in life, and that's what we have. We make a choice to decide what we want to do. And to be young at heart is fine. You know, it's a step, it's something. And see, when you recognize this isness, then you can bring all these things in, you might say, in a way to help support you. Then life becomes fun. You know, it's kind of like children at the beach, you know, digging in the sand. But then they got the pail and the little shovel and whatever, so they add that to their experience. And so it's like that. So, you know, nothing is negated. So to be young at heart with this recognition of what life really is instead of just going through it unconsciously, well, then you add all these things. You add your happiness. You add all of these things to it. But for me, I put life first, and then I add these things. I don't put these things first, and then try to figure out life, you might say, simply because these are ideas and experiences and whatever we have in creation, and this is a reflection. So it's even a lot better in your real awareness. So you know, this is where you decide how you're going to wake up and see this. But being young at heart, it's a start, but it's not the absolute end to everything, end to all means. It's just part of it, like being happy. Yeah, be happy and okay, as long as you're looking to become more aware, not just to be settled in, because then again, you just start taking on all these things, and then you get weighted down and you become old. And that's a little bit harder. So, you know, it just depends upon your approach. So, you know, what is being presented here, what I've always done and presented, now many people are presenting it, is that that's the idea, but the whole of life, if you really want to be really young at heart, the real youth, then put the whole of life first, put the isness first, and have fun doing something wonderful as, you know, the sun shining. And what the is, see it from the is. There's the real youth. All the real youth in life comes from the isness life is. And it's more than just an idea that we, you know, sing a song or something like that. That can be fine, but the recognition is the bigger part. And then you add all that. So there you go, Charles.
Yeah, Ben. I found that I found out that uh, well, you need the recognition, you know, but the practical part of it, you know, I don't know whether the practical part of it, being young at heart, precedes the recognition, or the recognition precedes the act of being young at heart. I don't know which is which then. Can you throw some light on that?
Well, each person has their own approach. Yes, at
Okay.
first, yeah, just, you know, like the spiritual paths that most of us or all of us have went through as an idea. You know, we look to something, we look to an idea to incorporate to supposedly help us along, which it does. But then again, it just depends upon the individual. This is where, you know, when I started this, from what I've went through, I saw that at a certain point you have to take the risk. You have to do what basically more so than what you've done before, and especially what the world's doing. You see what the world's doing, and coming through the corporation and whatever, it doesn't matter what I came through, but I came through that. That's my reference. I see that what was referred to at that time was a help. It really helped. It was. It helped me stay young at heart, you might say. Okay, but at a certain point, it didn't work anymore. The ideas there didn't work. because the references became loaded up with a lot of almost misunderstanding that wasn't really seen. And so the end result is that it no longer provided a benefit. It just came to that point. That's all. Yeah, it's like running the old car around and it's time for a new car. You know, you run it into the ground and, you know, and just like I've went through many computers, then it's time for a new one. It's time to be updated. And so again, this is how life is too. You know, the whole of life, I see it how it was when I was in the corporation. It provided, you might say it provided, and I'm not saying it's so. I'm just saying that it's, from what I see, it's almost like it supported me then and then. But if I were to continue on there with those sound good ideas that it's, you know, structured with, it's a structure really. Um, I don't really see it really doing that, you know, supporting me the same. So this is where I took the risk to do something different, and to where most people don't understand it. But the reality that life is, it already knows, it supports it. So that becomes the difference. So yeah, each person has their approach, and it really is more so than what we see here. So these ideas, whatever we use to, you know, eventually recognize this, well, you know, that's fine. But then you learn to surpass those or you don't. Again, you know, most of the world is stuck with themselves. They're stuck with the same old ideas and they don't recognize their intent. They have to recognize that real side of themselves. So there's a lot involved, and you know, most people don't, but yet they're willing to take the chance, you might say, on a new idea. You see, kind of like when the horse and buggy was there, and all of a sudden the automobile was invented. Not everybody had one, you know, it was scary to them, but a few people took the risk and decided, hey, I'm going to get one of those. I'm going to drive that car and, you know, bother the horses, whatever. No, that wasn't the idea, but, you know, it's kind of like that. But not everybody would do that. But that's just the idea, and I'm not saying get in a car, but yeah, not everybody will step up and take the risk. And you got to learn about the risk, too. You've got to learn about that. You got to figure that out. And so it's more than just jumping out of an airplane the first time with a parachute. You got to figure it out a little bit. So you remember to pull the ripcord. And we've done that many lifetimes. We've forgotten to pull the ripcord. So, and here we are again. But it's all okay. So we're doing the best we can by presenting it. And every person comes through in their own way and decides accordingly. But it's a risk-taker position now. And again, most people won't step up, take the risk, even if they read it. It all sounds good to them simply because their personal life, the routines that they've created and established with themselves, and that's all they are. They're just routine in creation, which will vanish, are more important to them. Choices.
Yeah, Duane, thank you for that answer. Being young at heart, I see it's more of an attitude that one adopts. Thank you. Well, then I think it is high time the new man makes a statement on the idea of equality. Women have come a long way, fighting against everything to have rights and be recognized. And the list of heroic women, I can say, is very long. And most women and even men have to be grateful for these heroic women who stood up, who took the risk to to go out there to shout at the top of their voices and become activists in order to secure rights for women. Uh, and everywhere we find people dying, fighting for equality in the political, religious, social, and economic spheres. So I begin to ask Duane, what is wrong? Is it that the message of equality to the world isn't well calibrated for by whoever is presenting this message? Or do the people need a real, do the people read a real education about equality which has been neglected? It feels to me like the ideas on equality out there are just some kind of, would I say, mind tricks, instead of a solid position that one should adopt. So, what can you tell the world about true equality? What it really is, Duane?
Well, you just described, Charles, all those things that it's involved with. There's many things. While you were talking, I was looking at, you know, you might say the beginning of life on planet when there was the caveman and the man was stronger. So, of course, you know, the woman gave way, and it's been like that most of the time. The woman is the childbearer, so she's well, women are what they are, the body types, and then you have the men, and they're supposedly stronger, but not in all cases. So this idea has been given way in certain individuals, and it's usually the men that take control. There are certain individuals that have taken control, and so what we have is we have life today. This is what it is. It's basically dominant. Yes, and the women have come up, and it's in certain ways, it's I see it like a competition, and this is where the battles come in, and all this and that, and women battling each other and men battling each other. We've been taught competition. We've been taught it, you know, like entertainment has fooled the public. The sports aspect has done that too, creating this competition, because this is what the world controllers want. They want everybody at each other. And so you started off with equality. Well, a real equality, but that has to be recognized. And, you know, here, again, we're the product of our environment. And here it's kind of a savage survival position in many ways. We try to be friendly with each other, but realistically, because we have the physical body and the other four bodies we have to deal with, and our mind and our emotions, and then we can react anytime and we can think anything we want. So again, it's about survival, isn't it? So if people are starving and there's a bunch of them standing around and somebody throws a piece of meat on the ground, everybody's going to go for it and fight for it. It's survival, I would say, except the person that has the awareness to recognize what's taking place. But see, not everybody does, so most people, they're going to fight for it. And so you see that with, you know, you can see it in any aspect, just like the elections or whatever, where people demonstrate, and all the demonstration that's going on right now. And it's a misunderstanding, like what's going on in France and whatever, all the yellow jackets, whatever. It's a misunderstanding. They're thinking in their mind that they can correct an originally created mistake, which is government and laws and all these things where you have rights and whatever. It's all nonsense. And so they're going about it in a particular way, but they're not recognizing, okay, see, I recognize what's going on, so I'm not going to take part in a riot. You know, I may go pass out water to people, but not really. That's just kidding. But equality, yes. Yes, you need a real education to really see what a real equality is, and that is it's not about body types. There's body types throughout all of creation, and we've all come through all kinds of body types. And just like the animals, the birds, the fish, whatever, the bugs, whatever, these are body types, all about awareness. And so again, it's the control factor. So um, that's what we're promoting. We're promoting a real equality. In other words, we're all free beings of real light. That's what we are. We're already that. Simply learn to recognize it. It's not going to just fall on you. So, but in the personal human position where, people just relate to their mind and emotions mainly, that's a struggle. That will be a constant struggle. It always has been. And this is also promoted. You have this marketed and promoted that, oh, women are doing this and men are doing this and whatever. You have statistics, what have you. So these things promote the competition, and this is what the world controllers want. They want there to be competition where everybody's at each other. Just like in a corporation, businesses are really a mistake, but here they are. We're in a business world, and within that, especially the big corporations, you have a lot of competition. People wanting certain positions or whatever, and they purposely create this. It's like being president of the United States. There's only one person's going to get it, but a lot of people want to run, and only certain ones do because we know the system now. So, again, real equality. It takes a lot to recognize that, and the world, for the most part, no, they're struggling with the idea of equality. And using the idea of man and woman and all these things. It's not about that. It's about being to being, but until people see that, again, what's the church's idea? Oh, gee, you have a soul. Okay, so what is that? And be a good person, all right? So, again, with the mind and emotions in this environment to survive, ideas just don't do it. They really don't. Some people can hold to those ideas, but that's a toughie. And if you do, that's fine, but it doesn't mean anything either. It's just like the members in the corporation. They can hold to the idea of being a member, but the end result is what? And so I would suggest listen to the Marjorie Klemp tapes. So, it's kind of a funny thing, but yes, equality in this world, well, is there really such a thing? It's really survival of the fittest is what it is here. And these ideas are promoted as sound good things, but really behind them is the idea of competition, the idea to, do better than the next person. In other words, women have rights, they're to be equal or whatever. Well, that's a created agitation leading where? To just more struggle. And so what we're promoting is you don't have to struggle anymore. You don't have to compete. It doesn't matter what body type you are, even if you're an alien or whatever, it's all fine. Just simply take the time to recognize your real awareness. So, yeah, this is a very complicated issue. And once you get into it, boy, it becomes really sticky and gooey. And there's no end to it because everybody has an attitude about it and they want to voice their attitude and they want to stay routine in a very restricted position, and then everybody becomes restricted. So, these are cute little ideas as references, but again, where does it fit, etc. So, yes, you have fun with that one, Charles.
Thank you, Duane. I think you've really cleared the atmosphere on this issue. Equality really should not be about body types, but recognition of one's real awareness. But would everyone take the risk to do that? That's the question. And so we can guess that inequality and the struggle for equality will continue for time immemorial. unless everyone suddenly strives to recognize their real awareness, then they will come into the realization of this equality, that everyone is a free being of real light, as you've said. Thank you.